Hey guys, it's Tony with Backwoods Biker Magazine and Wood Tramp Outdoors. Cassandra from Seattle, Washington has written us 11 times in the last 2 months. Variety of questions, but a couple of them had to do with ESEE Knives, and I wanted to answer some of those emails for you. Hang tight, we'll be right back. Okay guys, welcome back. Okay, first of all, Cassandra, I'm just going to be able to do a couple of your questions. Number one, you asked me why I don't own any larger knives. It's not that I don't own any larger knives. I've got some superior knives. This comes from Grayman. Mike at Grayman Knives is a former operator. He makes some of the best tactical knives on the planet, for real. If I was going to ask somebody to build me a tactical knife, it'd either be him or Daniel Winkler. Both of them are superb, but you can see how heavy or how big this knife is, and it is very, very heavy. Okay. Another knife that I have, I just grabbed these off my shelf to be able to show that I do. Now this, you heard that hit the ground here, right? There's more than just a knife in here, but this is the Msk One from Ultimate Survival Tips. David Pilzinski designed this knife and had it built, and you know it's a pretty dandy knife, but it weighs a ton. You know, looks good on the side, feels good on the side for about 5 minutes, and then it's just way too heavy because of its size and thickness. You know, it's one of the things I want to point out. You can't do a lot of deft things with this, so you are forced to have to carry a smaller knife, and this happens to come from UST as well. Great little knife. But you know, you add that to your bag with the ferro rod, and you know you've got this little kit here with a fire. Man, this thing is super heavy, and it's super thick. If you're gonna have a bigger knife, you're gonna have to do something to keep it from breaking. And a lot of builders, what they do is they use heavy stock to be able to do that. You know, and I'm just at that place in my life where I don't want to carry that big heavy knives anymore. There's no reason for me to. I'm not building sniper lays. I'm not building man traps, things like that. And that's what, to me, you know, a bigger knife is more for. You know, historically for me, for the past 15, more than that, probably the last 35 years, is a knife that is in this range here, with a blade that's about 4 inches, maybe 4.5 to 5 at tops. But this is the LT Wright Genesis Scandi, and this has been my favorite knife. As a matter of fact, this knife last year or the year before was Knife of the Year. And it is still a superb knife. You know, when you're talking about the skills and the techniques that you're going to be using here in North America, especially eastern woodlands where I live at, this is a perfect size for your main EDC. But there are times when you might need something bigger, but I've always shied away from them because of the simple fact that they didn't feel good in my hand. They were too heavy. Just a multitude of reasons why. We're going to get down here to the brass tacks of your main question about ESEE knives. Have we seen anything, and what do we think? We reviewed an ESEE knife back in 2017. It was the SE4 serrated. It was a great knife. I didn't care for the serrations, but that's just my personal preference. But it was a handy dandy knife, really performed well. The first one is the SE6 POD, all right? And this is an olive drab with black and olive drab scales, but these are not just the regular scales. The last time that I had an SE6 in my hand, the scales were totally different. It did not fit my hand, made me uncomfortable, and I'll be honest with you, I didn't like the knife at all. They went back to the drawing board, and they have got these 3D sculpted, and I mean they have really done their homework on this with these 2 scallops here. This knife is comfortable in my hand. I've had this knife for probably 8 months or something like. Well, no, not that long. Probably about 4 or 5 months. And I've been using it exclusively for the past 8 weeks, 8 to 10 weeks, to be able just to test it out. I hate to just pull it out of the box and then do a review or just to even talk about the knife because I didn't have any corn in the crib to give you. But now after 10 weeks of using this knife, I'm going to tell you something. If you would have asked me 6 months ago, would I carry a 6-inch knife on my side as an EDC, I would have said absolutely not. I did a video as to why not. This knife, however, I would and I am going to be carrying this on my hip for quite a while now because I really do like this knife. And so let me tell you what changed my mind. I will give you the specs for it. First of all, it is made out of 1095 high carbon steel, and it is rock welded out to about 55, 57, somewhere around there. It has an overall length of 11 3/4. The blade length is 5 3/4. You know, a little bit longer than that. And again, like I said, the scales are made of G10. They call them 3D, and they are sculpted. But what really impresses me about a 6-inch knife is that it weighs only 13 ounces. Yes, I said 13 ounces. This knife from Grayman weighs well over a pound. This knife from UST weighs well over a pound. Matter of fact, with this sheath, I think we weighed it one time just like this. This joker here weighs 2.5 pounds. You know, that's a lot of weight to be pulling on your side here. This is 13 ounces. So for a knife this size that has the functionality of this, being only 13 ounces, it got my attention right away. And then when I took it out to start testing it and looking at it, the way it feels in my hand is very comfortable. And it went through tasks after task after task that we put up against this. And one of the things that I like to do is I like to abuse the knives during the test phase because of the simple fact that if I'm going to sit here and talk to you about a knife, I really want to know if this is something I'm not going to be embarrassed about later that it breaks, because we have had guys send us axes and knives that break during the test. I wouldn't want to tell you to go ahead and buy one knowing full well that could happen. But one of the things that I like to do is during the batoning phase of the test, of the review, is to get a twisted piece of either hickory or red oak. And if you've ever tried to baton a piece of twisted hickory or oak, you know that it is a tough deal. Well, this particular knife went right through it without a problem. It did not give up the ghost at all. It went right through, and I was impressed with it. Next thing I did was I wanted to know, can it chop well? And it fits good in the hand. You can actually use the lanyard if you want to. I took that off the sheath that it came in, and you know, use that for chopping, and it will do some chopping. Now it's not an axe, so you're not going to get that action out of it. But you can chop to make some notches or whatever, you know. Small saplings, you could chop through it, you know, but you're going to have to carry, you know, something like this work sharp field hone. I think that's what it's called, or field sharpener, or whatever it is. But you're going to have to carry something like this. And then we feather sticked with it. It was very deft with that. We made some trap triggers, perfect. Everything that we did was great for this knife, you know. So the performance has never been an issue with me with the bigger knives. It's always been the weight and how comfortable it is in my hand and on my side. The SE6 is a knife that I could recommend for anybody, whether you are 6 foot whatever or you're 5'2". This knife would work well for you. So Cassandra, yes, I could recommend this particular 6. And again, you know, I mean, SE has been around for a good time, and it's built upon the shoulders of men and women who are outdoor, not enthusiasts only, but experts. The guys that they've got there designing and testing and the ideas that they're coming up with, These guys know what it takes. They are survival instructors. They're SAR certified. I mean, so they've got some, you know, experience under their belt when it comes to knowing exactly what you need in order to have yourself a knife that you can trust. I'll tell you how much they trust their knives. These are guaranteed for life. Everything from SE is guaranteed for life. So if anything happens to the knife, you send it back in and they're going to take care of business for you. I love this guy. Again, you know, it's only 13 ounces. And it does a trick. If I you know, I don't hardly talk about this very often, but, you know, truth of the matter is when you buy a production style knife, and really this is a production style knife, you know, usually when it gets to you, you're going to have to do something to it, you know, and there's two things that I'm going to do. Number one, I'm going to take some sandpaper to the G10 scales and just to soften them just a little bit, you know, to make them even more comfortable for me. All right, some people really like this, and I love the scales. Gee, do I love the scales. But I am going to do that. I'm going to soften these a little bit. The second thing is I'm going to build a leather sheath, or have one built for me, a dangler, because that's what I like to carry my EDC knives, like this, okay? So that's the first thing that I would say. Retail price on this guy is $216, somewhere around there. That's a suggested retail price. Is that worth that? Every penny. Every penny. I'll give you an example. This knife I just showed you here from UST, that guy right there is like 500 bucks, you know, with all this here, you know. So that is a great bargain for a lifetime knife. You'll never have to buy another one. It's easy to maintain out in the field. You just, like I said, you got to sharpen it, and you got to keep it either greased or oiled to make sure that it doesn't rust on you. That's just the nature of the beast of high carbon steel. Great knife, SC. Good job. All right, the second one that was sent to us is this little guy right here, the SE3. Now, they've had the 3 for a long time, but this particular knife is made out of S35VN Stainless. And they also make a 4 that's made out of the same steel. Why would that be important? You know, who wants S35VN Stainless versus 1095? Well, if you happen to be around waterways, especially salt water, if you're on coastal or waters or some of the tributaries where, you know, brackish water is there, that's hard on 1095, man. I mean, your sheath, your knife can rust in your sheath if you're not careful with it. But these will not rust on you. You can be around water, you can work with, you know, right up against it. It's not going to affect this knife at all. So this could be the secondary knife that I was talking about. You know, just something along this line, okay? Give you a little information on this guy, give the specifics. It's a 8.19 inches long overall. The blade length is 3.38, which is about 3 3/8, somewhere in there, a little bit shorter than that. But what's amazing is the steel is only an 1/8 inch thick, and it is rock solid. Took it out to test it, and again, we've had these for 10 weeks or so. Actually, we've used them for 10 weeks. And I did a little batoning with this. Normally I wouldn't do it with a 3-inch knife, but I wanted to try it out. It stood up tall. You know, it did the job. But where it really shines is bushcrafting skills. So if you're a bushcrafter, or you're a hunter that's looking for a good knife that would help you skin out, this guy is awesome. And it only weighs 6 ounces. I mean, that's hardly anything, man. And they come shave sharp to you. Now, this S35VN, it's a little bit tougher to sharpen than 1095, but again, if you have something like this from Work Sharp that has both a coarse and a fine diamond plate, then it has the ceramic rod on the top and the leather strap on the back, this will not be a problem for you at all. You know, I mean, it's going to be such that you'll be able to Just hone this thing right up. You'll be able to strop it without a problem. That's what these are for. And I would recommend grabbing something like that. If you don't want that, grab something else. But you're going to be required to be able to sharpen this knife while you're using it. You know, it keeps an edge for a long time, but if you happen to be out for a long hunt or something like that, you're going to have to sharpen it, and that's why I make mention of it. Again, the warranty on this is a lifetime warranty. Did I mention that these are also G10 3D scales? I may not have. And again, this will be another one that I just buff it. You know, I'm not trying to sand out anything. I'm just trying to soften those ridges just a little bit because of my hands, the way they fit the knife. Now, you see how big my hands are. You know, I got pretty good sized hands. This knife, the way it is built, is very comfortable in my hand, you know. So Cassandra, you didn't show me a picture of your hands. You don't need to. I'm just saying, you know, these are pretty handy dandy. My wife had this in her hand. She's not a knife girl. You know, she's not really not too much of an outdoors girl, but you know, she picked it up. She picks up knives every now and then, takes a look at them and says, you know, and she said, no, that fits my hand. So, and she's not a big girl. She's only about 5'3", weighs about 135 pounds. I mean, she probably shouldn't say something like that. I might get in trouble, okay? So if I got a black eye the next time you see the video, you know what happened. I got hit in the lip. All right, so anyway, I love these knives from ESEE. And it goes beyond the knives themselves. You know, we look at a company's history. We look at their background, the feedback on the companies. And, you know, when we attend classes or teach classes or whatever, you know, we ask about different companies, you know, what do you think? And Randall's has a great reputation, their staff does. As I said, they're trained experts. They know what's going on, you know, and you've heard me use the term corn in the crib. You know, they've got corn in the crib. So, you know, Shane and all the guys out there, what a wonderful job you've done with these two knives. You've made me a believer in a knife this size. I'll be carrying this. We'll be doing a lot more videos as time goes on. This COVID gets out of the way. We can get back out in the bush. So, all right. So, appreciate it. And till next time, hit that subscribe button. And when you do, we'll put you on our database for free gear at the end of the month. And like always, you guys ride free, you live free, and you be safe out there.